Most people expect a blind date to be at least a little awkward, but definitely not life-changing. And certainly not the kind where a young woman walks into a nice family-friendly restaurant covered head to toe in mud, trembling, embarrassed, and on the verge of tears. That's exactly what happened to a 24-year-old waitress named Lily, and the man sitting across the table, a single dad named Mark, made a choice in that moment that she never forgot. A choice that reminded her that kindness, real kindness, still exists. But the story of how she ended up like that, and what he did next, will stay with you long after this video ends. Call to action. Before we dive into this emotional story, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel. It helps more people discover inspiring stories like this one. Welcome to Your Channel Name, where we share real, powerful stories that remind us of the good still left in the world. Lily had spent most of her life feeling invisible. She wasn't the girl people stared at when she walked into a room. She wasn't the girl with trendy clothes or perfect makeup. She was simple, quiet, and gentle. But she had a heart that cared deeply, sometimes too deeply for her own good. Her friends insisted she try dating again after a painful breakup a year earlier. They'd found a guy online who seemed decent, a 32-year-old mechanic named Mark who had full custody of his 8-year-old daughter. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't smooth. But he sounded genuine, kind, and steady. That was enough for Lily. She agreed to meet him at a family restaurant on a Saturday evening. She spent hours getting ready because she wanted, just once, to feel like she belonged somewhere. She curled her hair, borrowed a dress from a friend, and even splurged on a pair of shoes she definitely couldn't afford. She left her apartment early, nervous but excited. But 10 minutes before she reached the restaurant, everything went wrong. As she crossed a small grassy area near the parking lot, a frightened golden retriever puppy suddenly bolted past her, dragging a broken leash. Without even thinking, she ran after it. The puppy slid down a muddy slope toward a shallow ditch, whimpering. Lily scrambled after it and fell face first into the mud. Her dress was ruined. Her shoes were caked. Her makeup smeared. Her hair stuck to her face. She looked like she had crawled out of a swamp. For a moment, she just sat there, holding the puppy in her arms, crying from embarrassment and frustration. She could have walked away. She could have canceled the date. But something in her, maybe her heart, maybe her hope, told her to show up anyway. She wiped her face with her sleeve, took a deep breath, and walked inside. People stared as she entered. Some laughed quietly. Some whispered. One server gave her a sympathetic look. And there, sitting at a booth near the window, was Mark. He looked up. His eyes widened. Her whole body tensed, waiting for judgment, disgust, maybe even an excuse so he could leave. But instead, he smiled. Not a confused smile. Not a fake, polite smile. A gentle, warm, relieved smile, like somehow seeing her made his whole day better. He stood up immediately, walked over, and said, "Are you okay? What happened? Are you hurt?" Not once did he mention the mud. Lily tried to explain through shaky breaths how she'd chased the puppy, how she fell, how she didn't want to be late, how she didn't want him to think she didn't care. Mark listened, nodding, softening. "That's actually the most beautiful thing I've heard all week," he said. "Come on, sit. Don't worry about anything." He led her to the booth as if she wasn't dripping mud onto the floor. He waved off the server's concern and insisted everything was fine. Then something unexpected happened. A little girl peeked out from behind Mark's arm. His daughter, Emma, wide-eyed, shy, and sweet, stared at Lily like she was some kind of superhero. "You saved a puppy?" Emma whispered. Lily nodded nervously. Emma climbed into the seat next to her and said, "You're the coolest girl ever." Lily couldn't help it. She laughed, really laughed, for the first time in a long time. Mark watched her with an expression she didn't recognize at first. Admiration, respect, maybe even something more. The server brought napkins, and Mark helped wipe mud off her hands, careful and gentle. Lily apologized over and over, and each time he simply shook his head. "Don't apologize for being a good person," he said. "If anything, I'm lucky. I get to meet someone who showed who she truly is before we even said hello." As the night went on, something shifted. Lily relaxed. Emma adored her. Mark kept leaning forward, listening like every word she said mattered. They talked about life, responsibility, sacrifice, and dreams they were almost too scared to admit out loud. Lily learned that Mark had struggled raising Emma alone after his ex left. He worked long hours, barely had time to socialize, and never went on dates because he didn't want to bring the wrong person into his daughter's life. "But I'm glad I took a chance today," he said quietly. Lily felt warmth spread through her chest. Still, insecurity lingered. Her messy appearance, the mud, the stares from other customers. At one point she whispered, "I must look ridiculous." Mark surprised her by reaching across the table and gently lifting her chin. "You look like someone with a heart big enough to run after a scared animal without thinking twice." "That's not ridiculous. That's rare." Tears gathered in her eyes. After dinner, Mark offered to walk her to her car. Emma held her hand the whole way. When they reached the parking lot, Mark hesitated as if deciding whether to be brave. "Lily," he said softly, "I don't know what you expected from tonight, but I'd really like to see you again." She blinked at him, stunned. "I showed up looking like this," she said. "Why would you want another date?" Mark gave her that same warm smile. "Because kindness is worth more than a perfect dress," he replied. "Anybody can look good. Not everybody can be good." Lily's breath caught. No one had ever said anything like that to her. They exchanged numbers. Emma gave her a hug. And for the first time in years, Lily drove home feeling like she mattered. But kindness has a way of rippling. The owner of the golden retriever puppy, who had been searching for it frantically, found Lily's number on the collar tag she'd picked up from the ditch. 2 days later, he reached out to thank her personally, saying the puppy had been rescued from a shelter and was still adjusting. He offered to pay for her dry cleaning and the damage to her shoes, but she refused. "Just love your dog," she said. Meanwhile, Mark kept calling, texting, checking in. Their second date was simple: ice cream by the river. Their third date included Emma, because she kept asking when she could see the puppy hero again. By the fourth date, Lily felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Seen. Wanted. Mark would tell her, over and over again, "You didn't show up covered in mud. You showed up covered in courage." Months passed. Lily became part of their small family, movie nights, grocery runs, school events. She even helped Emma with her science project. One day, while they were sitting on a park bench watching Emma play, Mark said softly, "You know, if you hadn't chased that puppy, we wouldn't be here." Lily smiled. "Funny how life works." "Not funny," Mark replied. "Just proof. The kind of person you are matters more than anything you wear." Lily leaned her head on his shoulder, and for the first time since childhood, she believed she deserved happiness too. Sometimes the world convinces us that we must be perfect before we can be valued, that we must show up polished, flawless, and impressive to deserve kindness. But this story reminds us of something far more powerful. Kindness doesn't care about appearance. Kindness sees the heart. Kindness creates connections where there were none. And kindness, real kindness, changes lives. So the next time you have a chance to be kind, take it. You never know. It might lead you somewhere beautiful. If this story touched your heart, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to your channel name for more stories that inspire and uplift. And remember, kindness is never wasted.